Okay, things are getting very scary with Estevão Willian. Because every once in a generation, football produces a talent who doesn't just play the game, he bends it, breaks it, and rewrites it in real time. And right now that talent is an 18-year-old Brazilian wearing Chelsea blue. Estevão, the kid the entire world calls Messinho, has arrived in Europe like a media 16 matches into his debut season, and he's already producing 4 goals, 1 assist, and becoming the youngest player ever to register an assist in Premier League history.
He can play everywhere. He's so good. And for me, it's like goal in terms, careful, it's like goal in terms of position. He can play outside, he can play inside, he can play everywhere. In our 5 attacking position, for me, he can play everywhere.
But here's where things get terrifying. What he's doing for Brazil is unprecedented. Estevão is scoring a goal every 94 minutes for the Seleção, a number that looks impossible when you compare it to legends Ronaldo Nazario, scored every 125 minutes, Neymar every 135.
He's a really talented player. I'm a little bit surprised for this, because of course, and he is able to show every game. I saw him play in Chelsea too, and doesn't need a lot of minutes to show his quality. He can play 5 minutes and he can show his quality. I think Brazil national team is really lucky to have him, and also Chelsea.
Estevão is surpassing both. At 18, Chelsea and Brazil are not just nurturing a star, they're nurturing a top 10 player in the world right now, a prodigy whose ceiling looks infinite.
But such a great player.
Have you seen a teenager that good?
If I've seen a teenager like this, yeah, maybe Lamine Yamal, but cannot name other names, I think.
And offensively, the kid is a weapon with layers. His dribbling is not tricks for Instagram, it is functional destruction.
Estevão, brilliant. Oh, not once but twice.
According to FOTMob, he's already hitting 3.7 successful dribbles per 90, making him one of Chelsea's most dangerous ball carriers and one of the most efficient young attackers in the entire Premier League. But it's the purpose behind his dribbles that separates him. He dribbles to break the first line, to pull defenders out of shape, to collapse entire defensive blocks, to create different shooting angles, and to attack gaps in the half spaces like a veteran playmaker. Then you look at his finishing profile: 2.9 shots per 90, 1.1 on target, and every one of them chosen with intention. His mentality, even scarier. Champions League penalty versus Ajax, Premier League late winner versus Liverpool. Those are not moments for normal teenagers. Those are moments for players who will define the next decade of football. And Estevão Willian is showing signs that he might be one of them. This is not hype. This is not propaganda. This is what it looks like when a generational Brazilian talent starts accelerating faster than anyone expected. And if this is only the beginning, Brazil and Chelsea may have just unlocked a monster. Born in Franca, Brazil in 2007, Estevão Willian grew up with a ball at his feet and a label that very few teenagers could handle. He began his footballing journey at Cruzeiro's academy, where coaches immediately noticed something different. His dribbling, his balance, his decision-making, everything looked a step ahead, and the nickname Messinho appeared instantly, partly because he was a huge admirer of Lionel Messi, and partly because his style genuinely echoed the Argentine's early years. His talent was so eye-catching that in 2018, at just 10 years old, Nike offered him a contract, making him the youngest Brazilian player ever to sign with the brand. In 2021, he joined Palmeiras' academy, and this is where the legend truly began to grow. At only 16, he helped Palmeiras win the Paulista Under-15, the Paulista Under-17, the Copa do Brasil U Under-17, and the Brazilian Under-17, 4 major youth titles in record time. Naturally, Europe took notice. Every big scout in the continent had his name circled, highlighted, underlined. Barcelona were one of the favourites to sign him, and PSG were willing to pay absolutely anything, including a €50 million offer to bring him to Paris. But despite all the noise, Estevão's dream had always been the same: to play for a giant, to shine in Europe, and to follow the footsteps of the legends he grew up watching. And in the end, it was Chelsea who secured him. A deal worth £34 million, activated in June 2025, and lasting all the way until 2033, made the London club the new home of Brazilian football's next superstar. For many fans in Brazil, Estevão instantly brings back memories of Neymar. He's explosive, dynamic, unpredictable, and incredibly quick in decision-making, a true winger in every sense of the word. His natural starting position is the right wing, but he loves drifting into central zones, getting closer to the box, and operating with complete freedom. Despite his flair, he is not a selfish player. His chemistry with teammates is one of his underrated strengths, and his comfort with both feet makes him extremely difficult to read. The only aspect still developing is his physical frame. At 18, he's still thin, still adjusting to the intensity of the European game, and still learning how to handle heavy contact. But he compensates for that with Messi-like ball control, close touches, tight dribbles, and an ability to glide past defenders without even needing physical force. This is the foundation that created the monster Chelsea and Brazil now enjoy. The 18-year-old has added an entirely new layer of danger to Chelsea's attack. As mentioned earlier, Estevão already has 4 goals and 1 assist in his debut season, but what truly turns heads is what he's doing with Brazil. He is advancing at a historic pace, 5 goals and 3 MVP awards, scoring a goal every 94 minutes a rate, identical to Pelé and superior to Romario, Zico, Ronaldo Nazario, and Neymar Jr.
Be a chance here, goes for the return, it's Neymar!
Since Antonio Coutinho in the 1960s, no Brazilian had scored as many goals for in their first 10 caps. These are not normal numbers. This is the statistical profile of a generational attacker. But what makes him so dangerous? The first thing to highlight is his ability to build plays and carry the ball in a way that is shockingly similar to Lionel Messi. As we saw in the match against West Ham, Estevão is not the typical flashy dribbler who overplays situations. He is pragmatic, efficient, and consistently makes the correct decision. The sequence says everything. He combines simply with the full back, stays active in the move without taking his eyes off the ball, receives it back in stride, and that's where the magic starts. His carry is spectacular, drifting past a defender with Messi-like fluidity, entering the box with a sharp change of pace, and delivering a perfect low cross for Enzo to tap in. Estevão has already delivered brilliant performances in Europe, and his first big statement came against Ajax, a match in which he made history and showcased the full range of his qualities. Deployed on the right wing, he completed 2 take-ons and delivered a game-high 10 crosses, constantly shifting between playing as a classic touchline winger and drifting into central pockets to overload Chelsea's attacking structure. What stood out most that night was his confidence. Estevão plays with a boldness that is extremely rare. He is never afraid to take on his man, fully trusting his superior technical ability, and he is always willing to pull the trigger from distance whenever he senses an opening. He took 8 of Chelsea's 22 shots, recording an XG of 1.66, the highest of any player on the pitch, with 3 efforts on target and 2 more blocked by Ajax defenders. But perhaps even more impressive than his dribbling and shooting was his willingness to demand the ball. Against Ajax, Estevão was in possession 4.9% of the match, comfortably the highest figure among all attackers. His 70 touches were surpassed only by 3 defenders, and he touched the ball 14 times inside the opposing box, the most of any player on the pitch. Extraordinary numbers for a teenager in a Champions League night. Despite taking risks constantly, his decision-making was excellent. He completed 34 of his 37 passes, 92%, including 20 in the final third, and registered 2 key passes, showing that he is not just a dribbler or a scorer, but a genuine playmaker from wide areas. He also made history by scoring a penalty that he won himself, becoming the 3rd youngest player ever to score in the Champions League. And beyond the numbers, this was arguably his most technically dazzling performance so far. He unleashed powerful long-range strikes, crafted solo actions at elite level, and even attempted a bicycle kick that came inches away from being a world-class goal. Estevão is the kind of player who makes the stadium rise to its feet, the type of talent you simply cannot teach. Another key thing Estevão has shown at Chelsea is his finishing ability, when cutting in from the right wing, a trait that separates good wingers from world-class ones. Against Karabag in the Champions League, he produced a moment of pure individual technique. Inside the box, he executed a sharp double movement to unmark himself, shifted the ball perfectly onto his stronger foot, and buried it with a powerful, low strike into the far corner. It was the kind of composed, high-precision finish you rarely see from an 18-year-old, but his most important goal so far came against Liverpool, and that one revealed 2 elite habits. First, he kept a calculated distance from his marker inside the box, never allowing the defender to feel comfortable. Second, he never stopped following the action. Because he stayed switched on until the final millisecond, he gained the crucial few centimetres he needed to beat Robertson to the cross, and tapped the ball into the net. This goal, more than any other, proved how mentally sharp Estevão is. Even under massive pressure, even in a decisive match against a top Premier League rival, the teenager stayed fully connected, fully aware, and fully ready to punish the slightest defensive hesitation. If Estevão is already dangerous with Chelsea, with the Brazilian national team, he has become almost unplayable. The entire right wing belongs to him, and whenever he cuts inside from the right channel of the box, he becomes absolutely lethal. His goal against Senegal is the perfect example. After a rebound, he once again attacked the outer right corridor of the area, met the loose ball first time, and buried it with pure class of finish full of balance, control, and intention. A similar pattern appeared against South Korea. Estevão actively signalled to Casemiro exactly where he wanted the ball, pointing to the gap he intended to attack. Casemiro delivered the pass, and Estevão showcased another elite trait: the ability to slip behind his marker, gain front-facing position inside the box, and finish with remarkable composure. This movement, receiving on the defender's blind side and exploding into space, is the kind of detail that turns a talented winger into a world-class threat. His constant focus also helps him score goals that others would switch off on. The poacher-like finish against Chile, and his second goal versus South Korea, where he reacted faster than everyone else to punish the slightest mistake. These moments show that Estevão is not only a dribbler or a creator, he is a cold, switched-on killer inside the box, fully aware of every rebound, every loose ball, every defensive lapse. With Brazil, he is evolving from a promising teenager into a frighteningly decisive attacker. Imagine being 18 years old and already taking free kicks, corners, and penalties for the Brazil national team. That is the reality of this phenomenon called Estevão. No player in Brazil is more decisive right now than the Chelsea winger. 5 starts, 5 goals, always appearing when it matters, always delivering when the pressure is highest. Against Tunisia, he showed it again, converting a penalty with absolute calmness. And then, almost in the final second, hitting the post on what would have been his second goal of the night, and another match winner for the Seleção. He is operating at a level that will help Ancelotti enormously heading into the 2026 World Cup, because Brazil finally have a winger who can create, finish, and dominate games on his own terms. And yes, that tough moment in training, when Ancelotti shouted at him, telling him he either followed instructions or walked away, ended up being exactly what he needed. Since then, Estevão has been playing with a fire, a focus, and a maturity far beyond his age. He is simply in fantastic form. Apart from what we just saw, Estevão is a nightmare in 1-versus-1 situations. That's the most accurate way to describe Estevão when he faces a defender head-on. One of his greatest strengths is his dribbling ability. He combines quick feet, exceptional agility, and a genuinely two-footed skill set, allowing him to beat markers even in the tightest pockets of space. His sudden changes of pace, sharp body feints, and capacity to disguise his next move make him an absolute nightmare for opposition fullbacks who never know whether he will cut inside, explode down the line, or simply glide past them with effortless trickery. His shooting ability is another major weapon. With the technique to strike with either foot and a wide variety of finishing methods, Estevão is already a threat from multiple angles. However, his decision-making under pressure is still a work in progress. His XG shot map reveals a tendency to take low percentage efforts from outside the box rather than working his way into higher value zones. This is normal for an 18-year-old winger, but it is also an area where improving his shot selection will take him from dangerous to truly elite. What really sets him apart from other raw wingers is his off-ball intelligence and movement. Despite his young age, he consistently identifies and attacks the gaps that defenders leave behind. His inside runs are particularly devastating, drifting centrally to open lanes for overlapping fullbacks while placing himself in dangerous half spaces where he can receive on the turn. His off-the-shoulder runs are equally lethal, using his acceleration to break away at the far post, especially when the defence collapses towards the ball. And in combination play, he already shows a strong understanding of 1-2s, often laying the ball off quickly before darting diagonally behind his marker to receive again in stride. However, he does struggle with offside awareness at times. There are moments where he ball watches instead of adjusting his starting position, costing him potentially dangerous runs. Refining his timing and improving his awareness will be crucial as he steps into the top tier of world football. If there is one comparison that refuses to disappear, it is the constant link between Estevão Willian and Neymar, and truthfully, the similarities are impossible to ignore. Both players share that rare Brazilian blend of improvisation, unpredictability, and pure technical audacity that defenders others simply cannot prepare for like Neymar. In his earlier Santos years, Estevão has a dribbling style built on sudden rhythm changes, tight control, and the ability to accelerate past 2 or 3 players as if they are not even there. Both players also possess that trademark pause and burst movement, slowing the play down for a split second before exploding into space, leaving fullbacks stranded and off balance. Their body orientation is eerily similar too, hips open, head up, ball glued to the foot, always inviting the defender to commit before punishing the mistake. Another clear parallel is how they attack the half space from the right side, drifting inside to get closer to goal and orchestrate play, a signature movement that made Neymar unstoppable at Barcelona and now defines Estevão's danger zone at Chelsea. Their creativity is another shared trait. That instinct to see passes nobody else considers, whether through disguised reverse balls, quick wall passes, or clever touches that destabilise the entire defensive line. Even the courage to take responsibility in big moments reflects the same DNA. Neymar scored decisive goals as a teenager, and Estevão has already delivered in the Champions League and the Premier League, showing the same fearlessness. Both also show a dual threat as creators and finishers, capable of scoring from tight angles, while also delivering final passes with ease. And above all, they share that intangible Brazilian flair, a style built not just on skill, but on joy, confidence, and the belief that any defender can be beaten at any moment. So yes, both Brazil and Chelsea genuinely have a new generational talent in their hands, a player who at just 18 is already performing at levels most professionals never reach. Estevão is not a normal winger, he is a frightening blend of creativity, maturity, and end product that appears far beyond his age. What makes him truly terrifying is that this is only the beginning, because his development curve is nowhere near its peak. If this is what he looks like today, imagine what he will become once he gains strength, experience, and consistency. The scariest part is simple. Brazil and Chelsea are watching the birth of their next superstar, and the football world will have to deal with him for the next 15 years.